The atmosphere of Morrow Enterprises was charged with tension as the sun dipped below the skyline, casting long shadows across the polished conference room table. Hunter Reed, a seasoned product designer in his late 50s, sat rigidly in his chair, his fingers drumming softly against the surface. He had always been proud of his work, especially his latest design, a unique teapot that blended modern aesthetics with traditional functionality. But today he felt the weight of Kimberly Mitchell's scrutiny more acutely than ever. Kimberly, his boss and the youngest vice president in the company's history, had a reputation for brilliance marred by a penchant for scapegoating. With her piercing gaze and razor-sharp wit, she commanded the room, yet beneath her polished exterior lay a fierce insecurity. She'd climbed the corporate ladder with an iron fist, often at the expense of her colleagues. Hunter had always admired her tenacity but resented how easily she dismissed his contributions, often citing their age difference as a reason to disregard his insights. As the meeting commenced, the room buzzed with the anticipation of securing a $30 million client contract, but the undercurrent of hostility was palpable. Kimberly, dressed in a sharp navy blazer, laid out the proposed materials for the project, her voice laced with an edge that sent Hunter's heart racing. "These are our benchmarks," she declared, gesturing to the projected slides. "We need to exceed client expectations, especially given our last proposal's failure." Hunter felt a knot form in his stomach. The previous proposal had indeed faltered, but he was acutely aware that the missteps were not solely his doing. Still, he kept his head down, focusing on the numbers that danced before his eyes, hoping to avoid the fallout of her blame game. "Hunter, your expertise is needed here," she suddenly snapped, catching him off guard. "Let's hear your thoughts on these materials." He hesitated, the sting of her previous dismissals ringing in his ears. "Well, I think the ceramic we used last time has a higher risk of chipping." Kimberly cut him off. "Chipping is a minor issue, Hunter. What we need is innovation." She smiled coldly, a smile that felt more like a threat. "Let's stick to what's on the table." The room went silent, and Hunter felt the heat rise in his cheeks. He forced himself to swallow the bitterness rising in his throat. He knew she was right about one thing: they needed to deliver. But he also knew that Kimberly's definition of innovation often meant her ideas, not his. As the meeting dragged on, Hunter's frustration simmered beneath the surface. He had dedicated over 30 years to Morrow Enterprises, but here he was, feeling invisible. With each slide she presented, each idea she floated, he felt himself slip further into the shadows. After the meeting, he wandered back to his cluttered office, the walls lined with awards and accolades from his years of dedication. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the space as he stared at his desk, where sketches of his teapot design lay waiting. There was something inherently special about the design, its unique spout, its ergonomic handle. He believed it could resonate with consumers who valued both form and function. But as long as Kimberly continued to undermine him, he feared it might never see the light of day. Later that evening, he received a call from his wife, Marianne. Her voice was warm and inviting, a soothing balm to the chaos of the day. "How did the meeting go?" she asked, her concern evident. "Not great. Kimberly is pushing her agenda, and I can't seem to get my ideas through." He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I don't know how much longer I can do this." "Just hang in there, Hunter. Your time will come," she reassured him. "Maybe it's time to look at your options." The thought had crossed his mind, but he pushed it aside. He had built a life here, and leaving felt like admitting defeat. Days turned into weeks, and the atmosphere at Morrow Enterprises grew even more tense. Hunter found himself increasingly marginalized as Kimberly's influence expanded. He watched helplessly as his ideas were diluted or ignored entirely, replaced by her initiatives that often bore little resemblance to his work. One afternoon, during a critical brainstorming session, Hunter noticed Kimberly was particularly agitated. "We're facing a lot of pressure from the client," she said, crossing her arms defensively. "We need a proposal that dazzles. Hunter, what do you have?" He hesitated, then presented a refined version of his teapot design, emphasizing its innovative features. But Kimberly merely scoffed. "It's a teapot, Hunter. What's so special about it?" The room fell silent, all eyes on him. He felt exposed, like a performer whose act had fallen flat. "It's about craftsmanship and heritage," he argued, trying to gather the room's support. "We can tap into a market that values these qualities. Or we can focus on what's trending," she interrupted. "We need something bold, not just another teapot." Frustration flared within him. "Sometimes tradition speaks volumes, Kimberly. Volumes of nothing, she shot back. This is about business, not sentiment. Her dismissal echoed in his mind, long after the meeting ended. Hunter felt the simmering resentment grow as he realized the extent of her sabotage. She was not merely undermining his ideas, she was actively working against him. That night, he confided in Marianne. She's trying to ruin me, I'm sure of it. I can't believe how she twists everything. Is there anyone who can back you up? She suggested. Someone who can vouch for your ideas? I doubt it, Hunter replied, running a hand through his hair. Everyone's too afraid of her to speak up. Days turned into a blur of meetings and presentations, each one more frustrating than the last. Just when he thought things couldn't get worse, he received a call from the client's CEO, a man he respected for his integrity. Hunter, I need to speak with you, the CEO said, urgency in his voice. There's something we need to discuss about the proposal. Hunter's heart raced. This could be the opportunity he needed to break free from Kimberly's shadow. Of course, when can we meet? Tomorrow at my office, I think we need to address some concerns about the materials and the design. I want your insights. As he hung up, hope surged through him. Maybe this was his chance to finally showcase the true potential of his design and to expose Kimberly's manipulations. The next day, Hunter arrived at the client's office, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. The CEO welcomed him into a spacious conference room filled with natural light, the walls adorned with modern art that sparked his creativity. Hunter, I appreciate you coming on such short notice, the CEO said, his tone serious. What's on your mind? Hunter asked, taking a seat across from him. I've been reviewing the proposal, and there are significant discrepancies, the CEO began. I'm concerned about the quality of the materials suggested. They don't align with the standards we expect from Morrow Enterprises. I wanted to get your take on it. Hunter felt a swell of gratitude. Thank you for reaching out. I've been trying to advocate for a more traditional material that I believe would enhance the design's integrity. He pulled out his sketches and began to explain the intricacies of his teapot design, feeling the tension lift as he spoke. The CEO listened intently, nodding as Hunter elaborated on the design's merits. I can see the passion you have for this project, and I appreciate that. However, it seems that Kimberly has a different vision, one that prioritizes cost over quality. Exactly, Hunter agreed, feeling empowered. She's been steering this project in a direction I believe will compromise our values as a company. After an hour of discussion, the CEO leaned back in his chair, visibly impressed. I'm glad I reached out to you. Your insight is invaluable, and it's clear you have a deep understanding of both the product and the market. As Hunter left the meeting, a sense of relief washed over him. He had managed to stand up for himself, and perhaps this would be the turning point in the ongoing power struggle with Kimberly. However, the victory was short-lived. Later that week, during a team meeting, Kimberly confronted him in front of their colleagues. I've received some concerning feedback about your recent meeting with the client, Hunter. Care to explain why you felt it necessary to undermine our collective effort? The accusation stung, and he could feel the eyes of his peers on him, waiting for his response. I was simply advocating for what I believe is best for the project, he replied, maintaining his composure. I thought we were all on the same page about the quality of the materials. Clearly, some of us have different priorities, she shot back, her voice dripping with disdain. But we'll see how well your choices fare in the long run. Hunter left the meeting feeling a mix of anger and despair. Her efforts to discredit him were relentless, but he was determined to stand his ground. With each passing day, the tension between them escalated, creating an environment thick with suspicion and animosity. Weeks passed, and the tension between Hunter and Kimberly reached a boiling point. Each interaction felt like a battle, and he could feel the atmosphere shift whenever he entered a room. The stress was beginning to take a toll on him, and he found solace in late-night discussions with Marianne. I don't understand how she can get away with this, he said one evening, pacing their living room. It feels like she's trying to erase my entire career. Have you thought about documenting everything? Marianne suggested. If you keep a record of her sabotage, it might be useful later. I'm not one to play dirty, Hunter replied, but he knew she had a point. Still, it feels wrong to stoop to her level. Despite his reservations, he began keeping a journal of their interactions, noting instances where she had undermined his work or taken credit for his ideas. With each entry, he felt a sense of clarity. This wasn't just about his career, it was about integrity and the legacy he wanted to leave. Meanwhile, Kimberly's desperation grew as the client's deadline approached. She became increasingly erratic, delegating tasks to Hunter that seemed menial at best. "I need you to research these trends," she said one day, shoving a stack of papers across his desk. "It's crucial for our pitch." As he flipped through the papers, Hunter recognized some of his own ideas mixed in with her directives. "These ideas are mine," he said, disbelief coloring his tone. "You've taken them without credit." "That's not how this works," she snapped. "You need to adapt if you want to succeed in this company. I'm giving you a chance to contribute, so stop whining about recognition." Fuming, Hunter clenched his fists. He had tried to play fair, but her constant undermining was pushing him to his limits. The following day, as he presented his latest ideas in the pitch meeting, he felt a mixture of anger and determination. This time he would not let her silence him. As he spoke, he caught the attention of the client's CEO, who nodded approvingly. But Kimberly was quick to interject, attempting to steer the conversation back to her agenda. "That's interesting, Hunter," she said, her voice laced with sarcasm. "But we need to focus on the cost analysis." Before he could respond, the CEO raised his hand, cutting her off. "I appreciate both of your insights, but let's hear more from Hunter. I think his vision holds potential." The acknowledgement from the CEO felt like a validation, but it only infuriated Kimberly further. As the meeting adjourned, she shot Hunter a glare that promised retribution. In the following days, Hunter received an anonymous tip that Kimberly was attempting to sabotage his design in a more sinister way. Whispers around the office suggested that she had approached a competitor, attempting to sell off his designs as her own. The thought was sickening, and he felt an urgency to protect his work. Hunter's heart raced as he delved deeper into the whispers circulating through Morrow Enterprises. The idea that Kimberly might actually steal his designs and pass them off as her own ignited a fire within him. He knew he had to confront her before it was too late. That evening, after another exhausting day, he returned home to Marianne, his mind racing. "I need to confront Kimberly. I can't let her take my work," he said, pacing the kitchen. "Are you sure that's wise? She's already proven she can be ruthless," Marianne cautioned. "I have to do something," Hunter insisted, the weight of his decision pressing heavily on him. "I can't let her ruin everything I've built. I'll go in early tomorrow before anyone else is there." With a plan forming in his mind, he spent a restless night, going over every detail. When morning came, he arrived at the office before dawn, the city still cloaked in darkness. The air was thick with tension as he made his way to Kimberly's office, his heart pounding with each step. As he entered, he found her poring over documents, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Hunter," she said, her voice icy, "what are you doing here so early?" "I need to talk to you," he replied, steeling himself for the confrontation. "I've heard some disturbing rumors about your actions regarding my designs." "Rumors?" she scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "You think you can just waltz in here and accuse me of wrongdoing?" "I'm not accusing you without reason," he shot back. "I know you're trying to sell my work to competitors. I can't let that happen." Her expression shifted, a flicker of panic flashing across her face before she masked it with bravado. "You have no proof," she retorted, crossing her arms defiantly. "And even if I were, it's just business." "This isn't business, Kimberly, it's betrayal. I've dedicated my life to this company, and you're willing to throw it all away for a quick gain." She stepped closer, invading his personal space. "You're outdated, Hunter. You need to accept that the industry is changing, and you're not keeping up. I'm merely adapting to survive." "You're lying and stealing." "There's a difference," he said, his voice low but steady. "I will expose you if you don't stop this." At that moment, he felt a surge of empowerment, fueled by the truth of his words. But before Kimberly could respond, the door swung open, and a junior designer walked in, breaking the charged atmosphere. Caught off guard, Kimberly quickly composed herself. "Everything is fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just a little discussion about ideas. We're good here." Hunter took a step back, his resolve shaken but unbroken. He had confronted her, and now he needed to gather his evidence before things escalated further. The tension at Morrow Enterprises continued to escalate as Hunter gathered evidence of Kimberly's duplicity. Each day felt like a new battle, but he was resolute. He kept meticulous notes of their interactions, documenting every instance of her undermining him and the rumors of her intentions to steal his design. Marianne became his confidant and sounding board, offering support as he navigated the treacherous waters of office politics. "Have you spoken to anyone else about what you found?" she asked one evening as they sat in their cozy living room. "I've reached out to a few colleagues, but no one is willing to stand up against her," he replied, frustration simmering beneath the surface. I can't do this alone, but I'm not sure who to trust anymore. Just remember, it's your work at stake. You've put your heart into this teapot design, she reminded him. You deserve recognition for it. The next day, during a particularly tense meeting, Kimberly presented a new project idea that bore a striking resemblance to Hunter's teapot design. The other team members seemed impressed, but Hunter felt a pit form in his stomach. He had to act quickly. After the meeting, he approached a colleague named Leo, a younger designer who had always been supportive of Hunter's work. "Leo, can we talk?" he asked, leading him to a quieter corner of the office. "What's going on?" Leo asked, concern etched on his face. "Have you heard about Kimberly's plans to pitch a design that's almost identical to mine?" Hunter asked, keeping his voice low. "I've noticed some similarities, yeah, but I didn't think." "I need your help," Hunter interrupted. "I'm gathering evidence against her. Can you keep an eye out for anything suspicious?" Leo hesitated. "I'm not sure if I want to get involved. Kimberly has a lot of influence in the company." "I understand, but if we don't act now, I could lose everything," Hunter pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. After a moment of silence, Leo nodded reluctantly. "Okay, I'll keep an eye out. Just be careful." With Leo on his side, Hunter felt a flicker of hope. That night, he spent hours reviewing his notes and gathering documents related to his teapot design, ready to present them to the higher-ups if necessary. But he needed more than just his notes. He needed proof of Kimberly's misconduct. Weeks passed, and Hunter's resolve grew stronger. He meticulously compiled his evidence, documenting the timeline of events and Kimberly's actions. But just as he felt he was gaining ground, a new complication arose. One afternoon, as he returned from a meeting, he found a message from the CEO requesting a private discussion. Heart racing, he wondered what this could mean. Had Kimberly already turned the tables on him? The next morning, Hunter entered the CEO's office with a mix of apprehension and determination. The sun streamed through the large windows, illuminating the polished wood furniture and modern art adorning the walls. The CEO looked up from his desk, a serious expression etched on his face. "Hunter, thank you for coming," he said, gesturing for him to sit. "What's this about?" Hunter asked, trying to mask his anxiety. "I've received some troubling reports about Kimberly and her dealings," the CEO said, leaning back in his chair. "I'd like to hear your side of the story." Relief flooded through Hunter. This was his chance. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity," he began, his voice steady. He laid out the details of Kimberly's actions, showing the CEO his notes and evidence of her undermining behavior. He explained the rumors of her plans to take his designs to a competitor, emphasizing the damage it could cause to Morrow Enterprises. As Hunter spoke, he could see the CEO's expression shift from curiosity to concern. "This is serious, Hunter. I had no idea things had escalated to this level. I know it's a risk to speak up, but I've dedicated my life to this company. I can't let Kimberly destroy everything I've built," Hunter insisted. The CEO nodded thoughtfully. "I appreciate your honesty. I'll conduct an investigation into this matter, but I need you to be cautious. Kimberly has powerful allies, and she may not take kindly to this." Hunter felt a surge of determination. "I understand, but I'm ready to stand my ground." As he left the CEO's office, he felt lighter, buoyed by the possibility of change. But in the days that followed, the atmosphere at Morrow Enterprises grew increasingly hostile. Whispers of discontent filled the air, and Hunter knew Kimberly would not take his revelations lying down. That evening, he received an urgent call from Leo. "Hunter, you need to meet me. It's about Kimberly." "What is it?" Hunter asked, concern rising in his chest. "I've seen her in meetings with some executives, and they're discussing plans that sound a lot like your design. I think she's trying to pull something," Leo warned. Hunter's heart sank. "We need to confront her. This has gone too far." The next day, armed with his documentation and Leo's observations, Hunter approached Kimberly in her office. "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "What do you want, Hunter?" she replied, her tone dismissive. "I'm aware of your recent meetings with the executives. You're trying to undermine me, and I won't stand for it," he stated, his voice firm. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment he thought he saw fear flicker in her gaze. "You think you can just barge in here and threaten me? You have no proof." "I have plenty of proof," he countered, holding up his notes, "and I'm prepared to take this to the CEO if necessary." Kimberly's demeanor shifted, her confidence wavering. "You wouldn't dare," she spat. but Hunter could see the cracks forming in her facade. "I will if you don't stop this," he said, his resolve hardening. "This isn't just about us, it's about the integrity of Morrow Enterprises." In that moment, Hunter felt a surge of empowerment. He had finally stood up to her, and the truth was on his side. The tension between them hung heavy in the air, but for the first time he felt he had the upper hand. The days that followed were tumultuous. An internal investigation was launched, and the atmosphere at Morrow Enterprises shifted dramatically. Employees whispered behind closed doors, the tension palpable as they awaited the outcome. Hunter remained steadfast, buoyed by the support of his colleagues and the knowledge that he had done the right thing. Kimberly, once the powerhouse of Morrow Enterprises, found her influence dwindling. The investigation revealed not only her attempts to undermine Hunter but also her efforts to take credit for his work. As the fallout continued, the CEO made the difficult decision to place her on administrative leave pending further review. With Kimberly out of the picture, Hunter felt a newfound sense of freedom. He was no longer trapped in her shadow. He began to see his teapot design through fresh eyes, determined to see it realized. Collaborating with his colleagues, he reworked his proposal, integrating their feedback and ideas. One afternoon, as he put the finishing touches on his presentation, Marianne called him. "How are you holding up?" she asked, her voice warm and comforting. "I'm good. The investigation has been rough, but I finally feel like I'm getting my footing back," he replied. "I'm excited about the new proposal." "Remember to stay true to your vision," she encouraged. "You've worked hard for this, and you deserve to see it through." As he prepared for the upcoming presentation, Hunter realized how much he had grown throughout the ordeal. He had learned the importance of standing up for himself, of fighting for what was right. When the day of the presentation arrived, he stepped into the conference room with a mix of excitement and nerves. The CEO, along with key stakeholders and colleagues, gathered to hear his ideas. As he presented his reworked design, Hunter felt the weight of their expectations, but he also felt empowered by the support surrounding him. The presentation concluded with enthusiastic applause, and the CEO nodded in approval. "Hunter, this is an exceptional proposal. I believe it has great potential for success," he said, a smile spreading across his face. As Hunter left the conference room, a wave of relief washed over him. He had faced down adversity and emerged stronger. The journey had been fraught with challenges, but it had also taught him valuable lessons about integrity and resilience. Months later, as the teapot design hit the market, Hunter stood proudly alongside his colleagues, watching as customers responded positively to their creation. The success was not just about the product, it was a testament to their hard work, collaboration, and the unwavering belief in their vision. Marianne joined him, her eyes shining with pride. "You did it, Hunter. I always knew you could," she said, wrapping her arms around him. As they stood together, Hunter felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He had not only triumphed over Kimberly's sabotage, but had also rediscovered his passion for design and innovation. This was a new beginning, a fresh chapter in his life, one where he could embrace challenges and continue to create without fear. In the end, the experience had forged him anew, teaching him that even in the face of betrayal, one could find strength and resilience. The road ahead was filled with possibilities, and Hunter was ready to embrace them all. So if you love this story, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and comment below. Your interaction helps us grow.